So this is the western section of the Nectar Devotion. That's the third part. The southern section describes the 5 factors in rasa in a general way. And then in the western section, the 5 primary rasas are each analyzed according to these 5 factors. So yesterday I explained Shanta rasa and Dasya rasa and Sakya rasa in terms of Vibhava, Anubhava, Sattvika bhava, Vyabhichari bhava, and Sthayi bhava. So now we go to the 4th chapter, which is Vatsalya, Bhakti rasa. So we have a definition here. Vatsala, when Vatsala Sthayi bhava is nourished by Vibhava and other elements, is called Vatsala Bhakti rasa by the wise. So we have the Vatsala, or Vatsalya Sthayi bhava, that combines with Anubhavas, Sattvika bhavas, Vyabhichari bhavas, and Vibhava, and we get Vatsalya rasa. So these 5 components of any rasa. And the main element we can say is the Sthayi bhava itself, which is Vatsalya, and the Vibhava, that's Krishna and the person who has that Vatsalya Sthayi. And then we have the Vyabhichari bhavas, Anubhavas, and Sattvika bhavas mixed together, and we get rasa. So the Vibhava is a necessary element in all rasas. That is the alambana aspect of Vishaya and Asraya. In this case, the Vishaya is Krishna, and the Asraya are devotees, who are usually elders, who act as parents of Krishna. And only when we have these 2 personalities that we can get any sort of rasa. So the character of them is very important. So, of course, with each rasa, the Krishna is the Vishaya. Of course, in some cases, Vishnu is also the Vishaya and Dasya or Santa, but he changes according to the different rasas. So Krishna is the Vishaya of Dasya and Sakya and Vatsalya and Madhurya, but he looks different in each case. The attraction of Krishna is slightly different with the different devotees. So in other words, the devotees will admire certain aspects of Krishna according to their particular Sthayi bhava. So in this case, in Vatsalya, Krishna is the Vishaya, and it stimulates that feeling of love. So this example is given on seeing her son, who had the complexion of a fresh blue lotus, who had a soft body with lotus eyes, touched by bee-like locks of hair. Yasoda became wet with milk, flowing forcefully from her breast. So Krishna, that baby Krishna who was to be protected, becomes the Vishaya. So he's endowed with wonderful characteristics, speak loving words. He is honest, shy, obedient, respectful, and generous. Krishna, endowed with the above-mentioned qualities, but without manifesting powers, is famous as the Vibhava of Vatsala Rasa by accepting himself as the object of compassion. Of course, he is also shows some powers, and then the Vatsalya Rasa becomes weakened because of that. We see that in the case of Vasudeva and Devaki and the elders of the Yadus. Some of them have Vatsalya also, but it is a weaker form because they are aware of Krishna's powers. And the Asraya are the elders elders because they think of themselves as parents of Krishna. They're greater than Krishna. They have to protect him, they have to teach him, and do so many things. So they're obviously elder. Of course, we get some people who are not actually so old, but usually it's a mixture of rasas. In that case, like Balaram has a little Vatsalya mixed in his Sakya, because he's older than Krishna and he also protects Krishna. And so with many cowherd boys also, they're elder in terms with Krishna, so therefore they have this protective feeling for him. So this why is that off the thing? Oops. Oops, how did that happen? Lord Brahma, Devaki, and other wives of Vasudeva, Kunti, Vasudeva, and Sandipani Muni, among the elders, the first ones are the superior to the later ones. So we have all types of Vatsalya rasa in Dwarka, Mathura, and Vrindavan. So Sandipani Muni also has a Vatsalya-like relation because he teaches Krishna and Balaram, and Vasudeva and Devaki because they're actually his parents. So the other part of Vibhava, besides the Alambana, that is Vishaya and Asraya, is Udipana, the stimuli in Krishna. So here the three ages of Krishna, starting with Komara, they all stimulate Vatsalya rasa. His form, his cloth, naughty actions, laughing and playing. So, Komara age. So Komara has three parts to it, the beginning, middle, and end. In Krishna it lasts from his birth all the way up until his 5th year. Normally it would probably last a little longer, but with Krishna he grows quickly, so it only goes up to 5th year. So in the beginning of the Komara, his waist and thighs are chubby, edges of his eyes are white, his teeth begin to appear slightly, and his body is very tender. So in other words, in the first part of Komara, his teeth just begin to show up, which is about like 6 months old or something like that. The activities of Krishna at the beginning of the Komara age are kicking up his legs, momentarily crying or laughing, sucking his thumb, and sleeping on his back. So he's quite baby at that point, lying on his back and kicking his legs up, whatever. As with Sakatasura, when he kicked he was lying down and kicked his legs up. So that's the early Komara stage. The ornaments of the early Komara age are a tiger claw around his neck, tilak for protection, mascara on his eyes, a cord around his waist, and a string tied on his wrist. Often we see in India little kids have a little thing around their waist, a little cord around their waist, and on protective amulets on their arms as well. The tiger claw also is supposed to be for protection. If you see Krishna here, he's got a little tiger claw here hanging down. Middle Komara age. In the middle Komara age, Krishna has locks of hair falling to his eyes. He appears with partial clothing. He has pierced ears. He utters sweet, unclear words and begins to crawl. The decorations of the middle Komara period are a pearl at the tip of his nose, butter in his hand, and bells around his waist. So he's a little more active, crawling around. Late Komara age. During the last part of the Komara age, Krishna's waist becomes slightly thinner, his chest becomes slightly broader, and 3 braids hang down his back. A long, narrow cloth wrapped around the waist, cloth folded to resemble a serpent's head at the front. Flower ornaments and a small stick in his hand are considered the ornaments of the last part of Komara age. So he's dressing up a little bit at this period and can walk around. He has a little stick. The activities of the last part of the Komara age are herding the calves near Vraja, playing with friends, and playing on small flutes, horns, and leaves. So this is where he begins to play with the cowherd boys. Usually, of course, the most part of the Pagonda age is with his friends, but at the end of the Komara age also he starts to play with friends. So these are all stimuli for the Komara age is a stimuli for in Krishna for that, the Vatsalya rasa. Though Krishna is beautiful in the age of Nava-yovana, the late Kaishore, he appears as if he were still in the Poganda age for those fixed in pure Vatsalya rasa. And when Krishna is of the delicate Poganda age, he appears to be of the Kaishore age for certain types of persons in Dasya rasa. So he can appear younger or older according to the rasa. So in Dasya rasa, generally they take Krishna as their superior. So they tend to think of him as older. So even if he's in Poganda age, they take him as in Kaishore age. Whereas those in Vatsalya rasa want Krishna to be younger. So if he's in Kaishore age, then they'll put him into Poganda age. Because he's more cuddly at that time and more worthy of protection. So the Komara age is more, we can say, the ideal age to express that Vatsalya. And so when Mother Yasoda sees Krishna in that position of being very small, that invokes that Vatsalya rasa very strongly. Anubhavas. These are the actions, conscious actions. Anubhavas in Vatsala rasa are smelling Krishna's head, that's a sign of affection, rubbing his body with hands, giving blessings to him, giving him orders, caring for him, protecting him, giving beneficial instructions. So these are particularly for those who are parents or elders and like to take care of Krishna, bless him, etc. So these are conscious actions. Sattvika bhavas. Sattvika bhavas of Vatsalya Bhakti Rasa are the 8 starting with stamba, and as well milk flowing from the breasts of the women. So all the Sattvika bhavas manifest, including fainting and paralysis, and we have an extra one, a 9th one, that is milk flowing from the breast. So that's a special Sattvika bhava for Vatsalya Rasa. And Vyabhichari bhavas. So of course there's 33 Vyabhichari bhavas, so a lot of them show up, but then there's a few that don't show up. So things like apasmara, or sickness, doesn't show up in Vatsalya rasa. And Sthayi bhava. The rati of a person dispensing compassion, which is directed towards a worthy object, is called Vatsala rati. This Vatsala rati is said to be the Sthayi bhava for Vatsala rasa. So this Vatsala rati, or state of bhava, is the basis, and then it starts transforming according to intensity. So we go from rati to prema to sneha to raga. So it becomes very more and more intense. However, there's a little bit of an exception as well. Vatsala rati is constituted of the highest stage of raga. So this is the main element here. It's a very intense attachment to Krishna and raga. This rati appears to go through the stages of prema, sneha, and raga. However, internally it's always deep, being raga. So it's always raga, but then it shows as if it is rati, prema, sneha, etc. sometimes. So the intensity of Vatsala is very, very great. We see that some of the people in Dasya can get up to raga, but not so many. And most of them are at the prema stage. And those at Shantarasa maybe get to a little bit of prema, not beyond that. Sakyarasa, they go up to sneha and pranaya and a little bit of raga. But here, continuous raga in Vatsala. So the basic was this, the rati was the basis, this Vatsala rati, but then the next level is called prema. That's like we have bhava and prema. So the rati is bhava, and then prema comes next, which means that that feeling of love will overcome all obstacles and will never get destroyed. So Yasoda has such prema. Knowing from talking to others that Krishna was being glorified by the sages of that place, Yasoda, milk flowing from her breasts, entered Kurukshetra without reservation, without reverence for him as the Lord. So in spite of the fact that others were praising Krishna as being supreme, etc., she couldn't. Her Vatsala was not disturbed at all by that. She just saw Krishna as her son. So there was obstacle in the form of other people praising Krishna as Supreme Lord, but didn't disturb her love. Sneha, that's a melting of the heart, and there's a separation is intolerable in this state. So sometimes Yasoda will display that. So this is a description of Yasoda. Someone is describing Yasoda. O Queen of Vraja, the Ganga river has sprung up through streams of sweet milk falling from the mountains of your breasts, and the Jamuna has sprung up through the tears mixed with black mascara falling from your lotus eyes. Those rivers are falling on the altar of your torso. Being bathed at the joining of the two rivers, you clearly desire to see the face of your son. So it's a poetic description of milk flowing from Yasoda's breast and tears falling from her eyes, turning black like the Jamuna, and the two rivers mixing together at her torso. And this of course is in separation. And then raga, intense attraction. So Yasoda will appear to manifest raga, but actually has deep raga at all times. So she may appear to have prema, rati, or sneha, but actually she has raga at all times. O Mukunda, if Yasoda is placed on a fire made from grain chaff, but can see you, the fire becomes as cool as ice. If she is placed in an ocean of nectar, but cannot see you, the ocean of nectar becomes as sharp as Kalakuda poison. Seeing Krishna and being with Krishna, she tolerates anything, life and death or whatever. And if she cannot see Krishna, then everything becomes painful, even the most wonderful situation. The quality of raga is that the person is willing to give up his life for the Lord. So these are this is the intensity of love in Vatsala. Utkantita.
Ask questions as we go along.
Oh, sure, you can ask now if you want to. Otherwise, you may forget.
Yeah, because there's a lot of things once you've covered there, which is
okay.
Very interesting. First off, it's like you use the term Vatsala and Vatsalya. What's the difference?
Same. They use interchangeable. The different terms are used interchangeably, and they also for Dasya they called Priti Rasa. For Sakya, it's called Preo Rasa instead of Sakya Rasa. They use some other terms. Madhura is called Shringara Rasa also. Yeah, so there's different terms. Madhura, Madhurya. Also.
Then also Sneha.
Yeah.
That means oil, yeah?
Oh, that's one. Yeah, Sneha is one meaning of it. The other is affection.
And Srila Prabhupada, he describes it meaning that because it's like oil or water, it always flows to the lowest, it always goes to the youngest.
It's melted heart basically.
Yeah.
So it's liquid. So I guess it's called sneha because it's liquid, that it never solidifies the oil, so it's liquidy all the time.
And then with the different rasas, like here we're describing about solid rasa, and in that prayer Dhamma-darastaka, that's also describing primarily about solid rasa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this takes place largely in the Kumara age.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The love that gopis are experiencing Krishna, this is largely in the Govardhana age, isn't it?
Gopis?
Yeah, his Radharani.
Oh no, it's Kaishore. That's where it becomes most prominent, yeah. End of Poganda, they have Purva Raga, before they meet Krishna, their Bhagavatam, their prayers, Krishna's like this, but they haven't really come to the Ras Leela yet. So when they first meet Krishna and speak to him personally, that's the Ras Leela, and that's the Kaishore age. Before that is Poganda. So then Kaishore age is ideal age for Madhurya Rasa. Poganda is the ideal age for Sakya Rasa.
Well, why is Kaishore ideal?
Because Krishna reaches this, well, he's more mature. Yeah. And then he becomes very beautiful, most beautiful in the end of the Kaishore age, exquisite beauty. And then the gopis also mature at that time.
So then, is that part of what differentiates between someone who's in Vatsalya and someone who's in Madhurya? Someone who's in Vatsalya is going to see the former age as most attractive, yeah?
In Vatsalya, yeah.
And whereas someone who's in Madhurya Rasa will see the Kaishore age as most attractive.
Yeah.
Okay, so then why do we worship the deities in Kaishore age? The Prabhupada clearly said our worship is Aishvarya. It seems like there's a...
Well, in any case, Madhurya Rasa, whether it's Aishvarya or Vraja, intimate, still it's a more mature age, Kaishore. In other words, if Krishna's a little baby on the altar, we can have Radharani and Krishna as little babies and have Madhurya Rasa there because they haven't matured yet.
But then, wouldn't it seem to be more appropriate to be worshipping the deity in Yogana? Because that's more like an adult, serious kind of...
Oh, well, apparently Krishna doesn't really go to Yovana. It's Nava Yovana is actually the end of the Kaishore. And then when he goes he doesn't age past that when he goes to Mathura and Dwarka. Now normally, of course, in the material world they do age. They go into Yovana and everything, but he doesn't go past that Kaishore.
So even when he's in Dwarka,
he's Kaishore
age.
Yeah, he's the Kaishore age. Yeah. Of course, he's old, but he stays in the same form as the Kaishore. Yeah, even at 120 years old or whatever, 125 years old.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so the raga is very, very prominent in Vatsalya. Great attachment. So actually, in the first part of the 10th canto, Sukadev, I'm going up to chapter 10, etc., he glorifies Yasoda as the highest devotee. So that's because the raga is right next to the gopis who get Anuraga and Mahabhava. So Yasoda gets up to raga, so it's greater than all the other types of emotions like Dasya, Sakya, and Dasya, Sakya, and Shanta. It's greater than that. So she gets glorified as being a very, very great devotee. Of course, there's raga in Vatsalya in many devotees, but Yasoda has the highest, most intense form of that. So we get within that Sthayi Bhava, as with the other relationships like Sakya and Dasya and even Shanta, we get the separation and then we get the meeting. So we have the separation before first meeting, which is called Utkantita, longing to see Krishna. In the case of Krishna in Vrindavan, Yasoda and Nanda saw Krishna from the very beginning when he was born, so no problem. But the people of Mathura, the Yadus, who were in a parental relationship, didn't see him. They heard about him in Vrindavan, but they didn't see him at all. So that they have Utkantita. So it says here, when Krishna was playing in the grounds of Vraja, the daughters of Devaka thought, oh, when will we see the face of Krishna which conquers the autumn moon? All glories to their great impatience. So this is an expression of Utkantita in Vatsalya. So it's not expressed in Vrindavan, but we will find it in Mathura among the elders there who are longing to see Krishna, but they've never seen him. And of course, Vasudeva and Devaki did see Krishna when he was born, but just temporarily, and then he went off to Vraja. So that's one type of separation. And then, after one meets Krishna, then there's also separation, which we call Viyoga. And we have sometimes very long forms of that when Krishna leaves Vrindavan. Everybody, including the parents and the elders, they have viyoga, feelings of separation after meeting. As Mother Yasoda heard the descriptions of her son's activities in Mathura, she poured out her tears and milk flowed from her breasts out of love. So Krishna killed Kamsa and did many activities there. Mother Yasoda heard about that, but she didn't see him directly, so she was separated from him, and so she began crying, and milk flowed from her breast. So that's the example of viyoga in Vatsala. And when there is separation, some Vyabhachari Bhavas manifest. Things like the Chinta means worry, Vishada means lamentation, and Nirveda means disinterest in everything and disgust. So, we had Ukantita, never seeing Krishna. Then the first time the elders see Krishna is called Siddhi. That's meeting Krishna. When Vasudev's wives saw that Krishna, the object of their eyes' desire, had entered the arena for a short time, their flowing breast milk dampened their new bodices. So in the previous aspect of when they're Ukantita, they were all longing to see Krishna. Now, when Krishna came into the arena of Kamsa, they finally saw him. So this is called Siddhi, first sight of Krishna. So we have the meeting Krishna. Then Krishna may go away at other times, viyoga, but then he comes back, and that's called tushti. For instance, Krishna goes out into the fields every day, and then Yasoda and Nanda and all the elders are waiting, but then Krishna says, "You can't come. Go back. We want to play in the forest," whatever like that, and you have to, prepare for evening meal or whatever like that. So they make an excuse and they tell them to stay in the town, and then they have viyoga, separation from Krishna. Then, in the evening time, they hear the flute, and they see the dust rising from the calves' hooves coming up, and then they understand Krishna's coming back. And then finally Krishna appears with all the cows and the cowherd boys, and they meet Krishna. So that's called tushti. The mothers, after embracing their son, sat him on their laps. Due to pure affections, milk sprang from their breasts. They were overwhelmed with delight, and tears from their eyes moistened the Lord. So that's called tushti, meeting Krishna after separation. Then we have the permanent association called sthiti, which we can say is eternally existing in the spiritual world. There's no separation, long separation at least. It's short separation, but not long separation. O Mukunda, our mother, fixing her eyes on the beauty of your moon-like face, fragrant as a lotus, out of great jubilation, continually pours streams of milk from the mouths of the two pots in the form of her breasts. In this manner her clothing becomes soaked. So out of bliss, milk is flowing from her breasts. So Vatsala, as I said, is very, very strong. It doesn't decrease at all. Other rasas may slightly decrease. When Adasya or Sakya Bhakta cannot discern the Lord has rati for himself, he thinks Krishna is not attracted to me, his priti rasa weakens and praya rasa disappears. Praya rasa is Sakya. But even if Vatsala Bhakta cannot discern the Lord's rati, Vatsala rasa is not affected at all. So in any case, even if they think the Lord is not so attracted to me, still Vatsala remains very, very strong. So we have mixtures sometimes. What is astonishing is that all the three rasas just described, priti rasa or dasya, praya rasa or sakya, and vatsala rasa, all are said to appear mixed together in some devotees. Balaram, sakya, prominently sakya, is mixed with Vatsala. In other words, he likes to serve Krishna. And he also likes to protect Krishna with Vatsala because he's older than Krishna. And Mother Yasoda tells Balaram and the elder cowherd boys, you have to protect Krishna from the demons or from dangerous animals, etc. So he acts as like a parent also. Yudhisthira's Vatsala, he's parental because he's elder, is mixed with Dasya and Sakya. So we get various mixtures. In the case of Balaram, it is prominently Sakya with a little Vatsalya and a little Dasya. And Yudhisthira is prominently Vatsalya and a little Sakya and Dasya. And we get other mixtures. Ugrasena and others have Dasya mixed with some Vatsala because he's an elder. Aged gopis have Vatsala mixed with Sakya. Some very old gopis. Nakula, Sahadev, Narada and others have Sakya mixed with Priti or Dasya. So it's prominently Dasya with a little Sakya. Shiva, Garuda, Uddhava and others have Priti or Dasya mixed with Sakya. Prominently Dasya with a little Sakya, including Uddhava. Some say that Aniruddha and other grandsons have Dasya mixed with some Sakya rasa. In this way, the mixture of rasas should be understood in other devotees also. So they're not always clearly one rasa only. They could be one dominant and the other mixed with some other minor rasas as well. So of course, it's sons and grandsons, etc. We would expect there would be, that they're like inferior, so they have that dasya attitude, but they have a little friendship also with Krishna. Okay, so that ends the Vatsala. And then we go on to Madhurya. Oh, you have a question? Yeah. Where am I saying that? Oh, well, Vipralamba is part of the Sthayi Bhava, and that's particularly for Madhurya Rasa. When it's in the other rasa, they don't call it Vipralamba, that's separation. It's called Viyoga. And for Madhurya, it's called Vipralamba. That's part of the Sthayi Bhava. Meeting and separation are two aspects of the Sthayi Bhava, which is the main emotion, Sakya, Vatsalya, etc., or Madhurya. Vyabhachari Bhava is the minor emotions, such as worry, jealousy, things like this that appear and disappear within the main Sthayi Bhava of Madhurya Rasa or Sakya or Vatsalya, etc. So Mother Yasoda's main is Vatsalya, which may be in separation, Viyoga, or meeting Krishna, Tushti or whatever. And then she will have in separation, she may show lamentation, worry, anger at Nanda for taking, because Nanda Maharaj took Krishna to Mathura, etc. So these are the Vyabhachari Bhavas. So they're minor emotions, they're one of the aspects that support the main Sthayi Bhava. Yeah.
So, we were just talking about the Vyabhachari Bhavas. So that's involuntary emotion, isn't it?
Well, no, they're minor emotions. We have involuntary actions.
Yeah.
That's the Sattvika Bhavas, like crying or fainting. That's involuntary. And then we have the active ones, such as bathing Krishna and doing actions that's called Anubhavas.
But my understanding here is like the arbitrary bhavas in Vatsalya are an element of the yoga, the separation of the absence.
Yeah.
And the absence causes one to feel
feelings, yeah. And then when you meet, then there'll be other Vyabhachari Bhavas like harsha, joy.
But it seems like they're involuntary. It seems like
well, yeah, they're stimulated through the particular pastime in meeting or separation or whatever. Yeah, we'd say involuntary. They arise because of the situation.
Okay.
It's not that we contemplate, I'm going to be happy or going to be sad. They're emotions, so they arise according to the situation. But they're all based upon the sthayi bhava.
Right, which is the from us. So the arbitrary bhava really are just emotions, the result of the situation.
Yeah. But they can be very strong also, and they can create the sattvika bhava. So let's say the lamentation type of bhava, or vyabhichari bhava or whatever, it can get very strong. Anxiety, etc., gets very strong, and then it'll create a sattvika bhava like tears or fainting.
Okay, so sattvika bhava is the involuntary one.
Yeah, and it's an external manifestation, which is involuntary, which arises from the sthayi bhava mixing with the vyabhichari bhavas and creating a very intense situation, internally. And then it comes out as a sattvika bhava.
So depending on the sthayi bhava, they're going to manifest in different ways.
Yeah.
And each sthayi bhava would have its unique sattvika bhavas associated with it?
Usually the upper ones will all have all the sattvika bhavas, but Shanta is limited. It doesn't have them all. But when we get to Dasya Sakhyavacha, they generally have all 8. And then we have an extra one in Vatsalya, that is milk flowing from the breast, extra sattvika bhava there.
But then as you go, like you're saying with Sakya, Vatsalya and Duriya, they'll become more and more intense.
Yeah.
And the gopis will be experiencing, like Mother Yasoda and Vatsalya is experiencing the most intense.
Yeah.
Then the Sakyas,
Yeah.
the most intimate Sakyas are experiencing very, very intense.
Yeah, so also the sattvika bhavas go through different intensities. Dhumayata, Jvalita, Deepta, Sudipta, and then another one more intense than that. And then when we get to Mahabhava, they become overwhelmingly intense.
So that would be experiencing the full intensity in the form of Srimati Radharani.
Yeah, it's the highest intensity there. And generally in Madhurya Rasa, the sattvika bhavas get more intense. But sometimes we do have intense ones, and like Mother Yasoda also will have some very strong ones also. So when 2 or 3 manifest, okay, that's lower. When all the manifest, that's higher.
There's 10 total.
Huh?
How many total?
There's 8 plus extra one for the Vatsalya with the milk flowing from the breast. There's some very special ones also, like Mahaprabhu bleeding from his pores of his skin or something like that. Extra one like that is there. Instead of perspiration, blood comes out.
So the relations and things like that, how unique to Mahaprabhu? The relations, etc., was that unique to Mahaprabhu?
No, that's one of the sattvika bhavas, hair standing on end. Yeah, that's one of the normal ones.
Blood comes out.
But then blood comes out instead. Well, it's more like instead of perspiration, blood comes out. So that's unique with Lord Chaitanya.
Okay.
And instead of tears, they don't just drop out; they shoot out like water pistol, like this.
But is that one of the sattvika bhavas?
Tears is.
Because from what I understand, the stories I've heard, that happens to Prabhupada sometimes also.
Yeah. Yeah. So tears is one, but it's intense. Then it comes out like that, like Lord Chaitanya's tears. Yeah. But then, of course, he has these other ones, Lord Chaitanya, of body shrinking and then expanding, like this.
That's also
we call the sattvika bhavas, which are so abnormal that they're not even described. That's a Rupa Goswami. We won't discuss these ones because they're so rare. Yeah. Now I have a problem here. My cursor disappeared for some reason. I can't get it coming back. Maybe. Here we are. We got the cursor back. And then we go into Madhurya Rasa. Yeah.
I don't remember, but I heard there's one person, great personality in Chaitanya Leela, who's actually desire-free in Golloka Vrindavan.
I think Madhavendra Puri, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I was listening on the radio and you mentioned that in Shanta Ras, like inanimate objects in Golloka Vrindavan, they don't have the intensity of love. So how do you understand that personality?
Yeah, it's rather mysterious. I don't know why he is also called the desire tree also. So he's probably a very special desire tree of whatever like that, not the normal desire tree. So why, I don't know. I suppose because he's the origin of Madhurya Rasa. in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, like that. It comes through him, comes down. He was the first one that manifested that intensity of separation. So in that sense, the desire tree of Madhurya Rasa or something like that. I don't want to speculate, but maybe that's it. So anyway, the last section is the Madhurya Bhakti Rasa. This is not a long section, it's a very short section, because Rupa Goswami covers in detail Vibhava, Anubhavas, Satvika Bhavas, Vyabhichara Bhavas, and Sthayi Bhava in Vipralamba, and in Meeting Sambhoga in detail in the Ujjvala Nilamani, a whole separate book. Yeah? And there he describes many, many, many details, so he doesn't go into detail in this book about that too much. So this chapter is, we can say, a little short and brief. When Madhurya Rati is nourished by suitable Vibhava and other elements in the devotee's hearts, it's called Madhura Bhakti Rasa. So we have the Rati, Madhura Rati, with the Anubhavas, Satvika Bhavas, Vibhava, Vyabhichari Bhava, it becomes Madhura Rasa. Though this rasa has many components, it will be described in summary because it is difficult to describe, because it is very confidential, and because it is unsuitable for those who do not have the taste for Madhura Rasa, since it appears similar to the rasa of mundane love. So we may identify it with material love, and then we get all contaminated by that. So.
Yeah. Projecting anything?
Oh, what's happening? It's not coming on at all. Okay. Something is wrong here. Yeah. Here's what we have to do. Landscape, multiple, show on duplicate. Did it. Okay. Didn't, yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, so this is what happens. And like this is not so much as spoken here. Then he goes through the different things. Vibhava, we have the Alambana, Krishna, and dear beautiful women. Because Krishna is the Vishaya. Krishna, who is the abode of abundant beauty, pastimes, and skill in the arts which cannot be equaled or surpassed, is considered to be the Alambana, the Vishaya aspect. O friend, attractive Krishna, who produces bliss in everyone within the universe by inducing their love, who produces the bliss of Cupid in the women by his soft limbs, which have the color of a forest of blue lotuses, and whose every limb is embraced spontaneously by the young women of Vraja, sports in the spring season, like the incarnation of Madhura Rasa. So Krishna is the object of love for the gopis. Of course, also in Dwarka we get the queens of Dwarka, and in Mathura we get persons like Kubja, and some of the girls in Mathura also, when they saw Krishna in the arena, and they fell in love with him. But the principal one of Madhurya Rasa is in Vrindavan. And the asrayas of that love are the devotees, and they take the form of women. I offer my respects to the most astonishing young women who are endowed with the most excellent, freshest sweetness, whose hearts are mixed with waves of prema, and who adore Krishna as their own lover. Among these lovers of Krishna, Radha, the daughter of Bhanu, is the chief. So that's the Vibhava and Asraya. Among the Asrayas, then we have Radha, and then her form is described. Just look at Radha, the abode of sweet nectar, whose blissful eyes steal the beauty of a chakori bird quivering with excitement, whose face defeats the fame of the full moon, and whose excellent beauty exceeds the luster of pure gold. Her Rati, I derive 100 times more delight from Radha than from respectful friendship, even when she does not hear my jokes filled with the highest pleasure, and instead, looking skyward, ignores those jokes with clever words which indicate her contempt. So this is Radha kind of rejecting Krishna, but nevertheless he's attracted to it. and Krishna's rati. When Radha left the arena of the rasa dance out of pride, Krishna gave up the other beautiful women and left the arena, thinking only of Radha, who was bound tightly by the chains of the highest love. So then within the Vibhava we have the Udipanas, what stimulates the rasa. In Madhurya Bhakti Rasa, the sound of the flute and other similar items are called Udipanas. How astonishing! The sound of Krishna's flute makes the gopis forget the scolding of elders, the infamy of breaking social rules, and the terrifying treatment from their husbands. So all of these are part of the Parakya Bhava. So they overcome all of these obstacles when they hear the sound of Krishna's flute, which acts as a stimulus and draws them out of the house. Okay, so after the Vibhava, we have the Anubhavas, the actions. Anubhavas of Madhurya Rasa are such things as glancing from the corner of the eyes and smiles. By drinking the nectar of the Ganga in the form of Radha's sweet smile as it mixes at the Triveni junction with the waves of the Jamuna in the form of the dark tips of Krishna's eyes, and by extinguishing the rising heat by bathing slightly in the cool water of the satisfying mind, we have surpassed the 7 worlds and now live in the topmost planet. So this is describing Radharani's smile and Krishna's eyes, his glance from his eyes, which are like the waves of the Jamuna. And Sattvika Bhavas, of course, there's all of them manifest in a very extreme form. O moon-faced friend, since your body with hair standing on end, the tears in your eyes, your choked voice, and your trembling chest, I can understand that the sound of Krishna's flute has melted your heart. So simply on hearing Krishna's flute, all these Sattvika Bhavas manifest in one of the gopis. So these are involuntary emotions, or not symptoms of emotions that manifest physically. And we have Vyabhachari Bhavas, the emotions. And Madhurya Bhakti Rasa, all the Vyabhachari Bhavas except Alasya, or sloth, or laziness, and Augriya Ferocity manifest. So there's 32 Vyabhachari Bhavas, 31 of them manifest during different pastimes, either in separation or in union. So, what is the Sthayi Bhava? Now, the Sthayi Bhava of Madhurya Rasa is the previously described Madhura Rati. O friend, who is this person wearing cloth the color of a gold streak on a touchstone, whose face is sweet with dancing eyebrows, whose ears are decorated with ashok buds, who has brought me under his control by the sound of his flute? So that's the basic Rati. That love of Radha and Krishna is never at any time or in any circumstance covered by other similar relationships or by different Sthayi Bhavas. So this indicating that the love of Radha and Krishna is very, very strong, and nothing can interrupt it. The Rati of Radha and Krishna, composed of seeing each other and other pastimes using trickery, is never covered by similar relationships, Krishna's relationship with other gopis. So no other Madhurya Rasa relationship between Krishna and anyone else can cover up the relationship with Radha. And contrary relationships such as Vatsalya Sthayi Bhava cannot cover it up also. So there are all sorts of, Krishna has other relationships with other persons, but the prominent one is relationship with Radha. At a short distance stands the Queen of Vraja, and all around are Krishna's friends. Chandravali is standing right in front of him, and Aristasura is standing at the edge of Vraja on a stony soil. But Krishna's restless glance falls only upon the form of Radha, covered by flowering creepers. So Radharani's hiding in the bushes, but then Krishna's looking over there, not paying attention to anybody else, including Mother Yasoda and Chandravali and anyone else. So that Sthayi Bhava has the separation aspect, which we call Vipralamba. So if there's no meeting, before the meeting at all, it's called Purva Raga, before the first meeting, and there's many examples given in the Nectar of Devotion, of course in Bhagavatam itself. He's actually taken here one from the Dwarka pastimes, Rukmini. So Rukmini was in Purva Raga. She had never met Krishna, but she'd heard about him. Then she began writing letters to Krishna and expecting to see him. So that's her Purva Raga, attraction to Krishna and conjugal love, but hadn't seen him yet. Just as Rukmini's mind is fixed on me, my mind is fixed on her. I can't even sleep at night. I know that Rukmi, out of envy, has forbidden our marriage. So Krishna also had not met Rukmini, and he also has his Purva Raga. And of course then we have the Vipralamba after meeting also. After meeting the first time, we see in the Rasa Leela, Krishna played his flute, and then the gopis finally met with Krishna and they talked to him, etc. And then they had some pastimes, and then he disappeared. So that's another type of separation again, but after, not first meeting, afterwards. And then he came back after some time. But there's another type of Vipralamba that is called Man, deliberate separation, where Radharani gets angry at Krishna and won't see him. So that's another type of separation. It's quite typical in Madhurya Rasa. Man is intense sneha with a show of opposition to the Lord. When Krishna was sporting with all the gopis in the forest, treating them all with equal affection, Radha left that place in anger because of his slighting her superior position. Later, while hiding in a grove of creepers, while bees were buzzing overhead, in a grief-stricken state, she spoke to a friend in private. So this is an example of man, anger and pride, and then she separates from Krishna. So the other separation is pravas, where there's separation after meeting. And it can be short, as Krishna going to the fields every day and coming back at night, or it can be prolonged in the case of pastimes on earth when Krishna leaves Vrindavan and goes to Mathura. That's another form of pravas. Since the auspicious day when Krishna departed from Mathura, the lotus-faced Radha, putting her left hand on her left cheek, soaked her face with unremitting tears. How could she sleep at all? So that's separation. Then we have meeting. It's called sambhoga. The enjoyment experience when the two lovers meet. That's called sambhoga. Krishna, with peacock feather in his head, executed the festival of Cupid with Radha, who was endowed with the highest attachment for Krishna and who expressed her love with skillful embraces. So that's just one example of sambhoga. So, as I said, Rupa Goswami doesn't describe too much the details of Madhurya Rasa here, but he gives a more elaborate description in the Ujjwal and Nilamani, which is a whole book. And he describes all the different types of gopis, all the different types of Krishna, and all the different groups of gopis, and then the heads of the gopis, etc. And their different emotions, etc. And he goes through all these anubhavas, sattvika bhavas, vyabhicharya bhavas, sthayi bhavas, separation, meeting, etc. in more detail. Okay, and that's it. So that covers the Western section of the Nectar of Devotion.
So, the way this is presented by Rupa Goswami, it seems like this progression, from the higher, the lower to the higher.
Yeah.
And here we see that after the Vipralamba, sambhoga is described.
Yeah.
Now I know that, for instance, Narayan Maharaj had described that sambhoga, the meeting after separation, was higher than separation. But we see the Srila Prabhupada he quoted that verse quite a few times, that Rajavadu, when he's saying that Lord Chaitanya was teaching, but this move that's demonstrated by the gopis is separation from Krishna. This is the highest. So can you please explain why Maharaj might think like that, and why it is that Srila Prabhupada is saying that the Brahma is the highest?
Well, it's true, and yeah, we can say there's two aspects of this. One is that the Jiva Goswami, he says that the separation should always conclude with a meeting. In other words, if for instance, Krishna never comes back to Vrindavan, then it's some disaster. Everybody's left in a grief state. That cannot happen. So Krishna should return. So similarly, for the gopis, if Krishna leaves them, he should come back in any case. And of course, within the pastimes in the spiritual world, he may disappear for a short period and come back. So the separation is always followed by a union in which they become very blissful. So there's a resolution to the separations. In that sense, we could say superior. But the separation is considered to be, in some cases, it looks like it's more painful. But then it said within that separation, there's the highest bliss, which is more blissful than the meeting. And within the meeting, there is a feeling of separation also, because they worry that Krishna's going to leave again. And within the separation, then suddenly there is an inexplicable type of bliss. Krishna internally appears or something like that, and they get very, very blissful. So it's kind of indescribable in one sense. So I think Sanatana Goswami says that actually you cannot really understand this Madhurya Rasa and all these complexities. You could have to ask Radha directly. And maybe she can explain it to you. So it looks like contradictory in one sense. Within the separation there's union, within the union there's separation.
Because it seems like when from the descriptions I've read, I mean obviously I have no practical experiences, but from the descriptions I've read, it seems like the intensity of the gopis' absorption in Krishna during Vipralambha is far greater than any other.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's explained in relation to why Krishna disappeared from the gopis in the Rasa Leela, before the Rasa Leela actually, and then the answer given by our Goswamis is that he wanted to show the world the intensity of their love, which could be shown in separation. So when we got separated, then we have all these descriptions of the gopis in the Bhagavatam where they were looking for Krishna, and then they started acting out Krishna's pastimes and doing all sorts of things like that. So then, and then when Uddhava came and he saw the gopis, and then he saw the Radharani talking to the bumblebee. So that's called Unmada, a madness in separation. So that's a very intense, form of emotion, and it manifests in separation. So we say the intense forms of that love take place in the Vipralambha. So in that sense, we can say it's higher. But it should be followed by some sort of union eventually, and then Krishna has to come back, and everybody's happy in that way.
But it seems like as all the pastimes that Krishna is performing in Vrindavan with his devotees, he generally carries out those activities just to, churn this love that the devotees feel to him. So by creating this environment of separation, and the devotees, the gopis' attraction and love for Krishna seems to increase more and more.
Yeah. Well, and even we find they'll purposely separate. So Radharani gets mad at Krishna and refuses to see him. So that creates great anxiety in Krishna, and also creates anxiety in Radha. So, but it's purposeful. But then ultimately they get together again. So the separation meeting. So it says that Madhurya Rasa is crooked like a snake. It goes in a very torturous type of path, which you will not see so much in other rasas like Sakya. It's very, very steady, goes on like that. The same in Vatsalya. But Madhurya Rasa, within the rasa itself, then there is purposeful separation caused by man. And that creates some more intensity in that love. We can say the greatest aspects of Mahabhava are displayed in separation. And Radharani's, highest Mahabhava things are because of separation. So in that sense, it's the most...
That was also Lord Chaitanya's mood. He never felt that he was meeting with Krishna. He was always feeling separate.
Yeah.
So I read this presentation here, and it's also your translation of devotion. It's all very technical in one sense. We've got Prabhupada's translation of devotion here, more focuses on the examples of different pastimes to exemplify these different...
Well, those are all there. There's, in other words, for each thing, like Udipana, then Krishna, then Rupa Goswami, this verse, this verse, this verse, this verse, or for Krishna's Kaishar age, the first part, second part, third part, you get verse, 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 like that. So they're all there. But, it gets very big if we try to quote all those things.
I'm just wondering how important is it for our own spiritual development to really grasp these technical understanding?
Well, we have to know something about it because, in other words, the whole, why would Rupa Goswami even present the whole nectar devotion? Actually, the first part that we study is only the preliminary part of the book. The main part is to describe rasa so that we can understand it to some degree. Not completely, but we can get a little understanding of what takes place in the spiritual world. So we're not going to be completely bewildered when we get there. And if we advance towards bhava, obviously things become more revealed, and then we can understand them more. In our beginning state, we don't understand so much, but at least we get some idea. Okay, there has to be, some sort of sthayi bhava there. It has to be either Shanta, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya, whatever. And then there has to be certain elements within that, like the actions, the service. In other words, we talk about service to Krishna, so that's the anubhavas, basically. And then there's the involuntary things, like Satvika bhavas, Vyabhachari bhavas, etc., which give a little variety to that. So we probably don't have to understand them too much, but it's just the details are there because they actually, you can analyze in the Bhagavatam all the different verses in terms of all of these elements. Oh, there's a Vyabhachari bhava, there's a Satvika bhava there in the relationship with the gopis and Krishna, for instance. Or with the other members, also other associates of Krishna.
You mentioned that one of the static symptoms is specific to Lord Chaitanya is that the blood oozing from the skin. But outside of the Vedic culture, the Christians have this thing, stigmata.
Oh yeah, where that
is that in any way related? Or?
That's a little different because that's because of Christ getting crucified on the cross, so they get the little holes like on the hands like that. So it's more like we can say maybe emotional thing is there also, and then blood comes out. This is more like perspiration. It's like instead of perspiration coming out as a Satvika bhava, the blood comes out. That's all.
The response you gave to my brother-in-law's previous question about by understanding these points you can understand the Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
I think it's in the 8th chapter of the 1st canto in Vishnu Thakur's analysis of Kunti's prayers. He's talking about how these are reflecting different rasas.
Oh, yeah.
So if by understanding these things we can understand...
Appreciate them.
Appreciate the greatness of the devotees and the prayers of all.
Yeah. We can understand their emotion a little bit of how they appreciate Krishna.
And even just like the point of the previous section we're talking about Salidas.
Yeah.
And just to understand how elevated so his love is, and what's the pursuit of that love. It doesn't matter if there's any other obstacle outside of her. It doesn't change her affection, as you see with Arjuna.
He changes.
His relationship with Krishna is disturbed as soon as this Aishwarya element comes into the 11th chapter. So
we can appreciate the devotees more because if we can analyze it and see how they're responding and how they respond to Krishna and whatever in different situations. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Oh, let's see.
I'm not sure how to really articulate this question, but I'm wondering, like I remember we held one pastime when Prabhupada was still on the planet in some disciples, they had a Gopi Baba club, and so
in LA.
when we hear these pastimes, or maybe someone is attracted to the cowherd pastimes, and they think, okay, I'm going to be a cowherd boy, or even that deep Bhakti rasa. So how do we we hear about this and we develop more love for Krishna, but how do we make sure that we don't become like radiant?
This whole thing about the Gopi Bhav Club, some devotees decided that, okay, they read in Chaitanya Charitamrita that Madhurya Rasa is the highest, so therefore we should concentrate on Madhurya Rasa. So I believe they were concentrating on reading sections of the Chaitanya Charitamrita that involved the Madhurya Rasa and excluding everything else. Then Prabhupada got angry at that. So as said at the beginning of this, Rupa Goswami himself says, I'm not going to discuss this too much because it's not for people, some people. They will project material rasa on it. So that's one of the main reasons why also Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was not too eager to get into Madhurya Rasa, because people do project material attraction of men and women on this rasa, and then it becomes completely contaminated. And then the other aspect is then we get people like Sahajiyas and other who actually fall to a very low degree, and they imitate the pastimes of Krishna. So they can get very degraded that way. So that has to be prevented. At the same time, and we see that Prabhupada presented the Krishna book. He thought he wouldn't be able to do the whole 10th canto maybe, so that he did the Krishna book in the very beginning, which covers everything in the 10th canto, including the Rasa Leela and everything, so it's there. So if it's explained properly, then of course we can understand it. And if we are qualified, then we can appreciate these things.
Just on the point of separation, sometimes the main topic of conversation with the time frame of separation is when Krishna left the gopis to go to Mathura and didn't come back for 100 years. But there's sort of in the Temple actually talked about separation every day and how leaves and it's sort of it's like all these symptoms are there until it comes back. The only other aspect of separation there is this flute thing. Sometimes I hear his flute, so the ecstasy of flute.
So there's the prolonged separation when Krishna goes to Mathura. Then there's the daily separation, which is not only for the gopis, but also even for Yasoda. So there's a whole description in one of his other works also, how when Krishna goes out in the morning and he takes all the calves and cowherd boys, then Nanda and Yasoda are following Krishna, and they can't give him up, and they keep following and following and following, and then finally Krishna says, you better go back now. And then he has to persuade them to go back, and they keep saying, well look, you have to take care of this, do this like this, and these cowherd boys have to protect you, but he says, anyway, we're just playing the fields, it's nothing, like this. And then finally they persuade the mother and father to go home, and then they're all crying and like this, and they go home, but there's separation there also, and that takes place on a daily thing. So there is that separation, and then in the evening Krishna comes back and everybody's overjoyed again. And the same with the gopis. When Krishna leaves, they're dissatisfied. When he comes back, then they're joyful again. So that's the daily one, and then we have the prolonged one. There's two types there. Okay, Hare Krishna.